Atrium Fragrance is our brand that's on a mission to create the 5 ultimate fragrances. It is for men who want to see creativity, luxury, and affordability in the fragrance industry. Link in the description below. Fragrances, they get too much hype. What do you guys know about me? The number one thing everyone knows is that I am the number one hater in the fragrance industry. I like to bring up these popular fragrances that I think get way too much love and I feel that the community needs to move on from in general. You may see your favorite fragrance in this list. Remember, this is just my opinion, and for every fragrance I feature here, I will give an alternative because there's no point just complaining about something without giving something better to go towards. Okay, let's begin our rant. First of all, Versace Eros has to be on this list, both the Eau de Toilette and the Eau de Parfum, because those are the only two that I've smelled. Now, Eros, I loved it when I first bought it. It's one of my favorite, I think beginner fragrances is great. I bought it because of Jeremy. It's a nice clubbing fragrance, as he says, but I think it's just a nice casual daily scent to wear in general, as outside of work or school, and outside of summertime. Otherwise, yeah, I think it's a great scent in general, but it is way too overhyped. It smells very plain and it gets boring really quickly. Even as a beginner, I got bored of this fragrance. It's nice and there's like a fresh minty opening, but then it just becomes very simple synthetic vanilla on the dry down. It's not a particularly great vanilla fragrance, and I think other clubbing fragrances have replaced it now, so I would recommend something like Azzaro, the Most Wanted, which smells more sexy and modern in comparison. Creed Aventus, get it on this list. Creed Aventus is overhyped. It was a masterpiece when it first came out. There are two things I have problems with it. First of all, it's that, of course, it is nowhere near as good as it used to be back in the 2010 era. My 22 bottle only lasts me 4 to 6 hours, and even though the smell is pleasant, it's way too overpriced for what it is, especially when there are so many clones. And that's my other issue with Creed Aventus. I feel like the DNA has actually sort of become outdated, actually. I don't like it anymore. It's just way too saturated right now in the market with the Aventus DNA. Even with fragrances like Cedra Boisé or Hashivat, I'll count them into that Aventus family. This annoying repetition of a smoky, fruity DNA is just I feel like overdone now. Creed Aventus is not worth the money. Get something like Al Haramain Lemon Sure if you want a very accurate, cheap clone, or Hashivat's better value for money if you want to spend that kind of price. However, my recommendation as an alternative to Aventus is something that doesn't smell anything like Aventus, but it matches it back to the 2010 creativity, longevity, and versatility that Aventus first came out with. That is Aaron Terence Hughes Hard Candy. It is extremely highly rated on Fragrantica for a reason, and I really recommend you check it out if you can. Get your hands on a sample or a bottle. The Labo Santal 33. It's got a polarized reaction on the community, but I think in general in the mainstream it's quite popular. It's a highly loved fragrance DNA and I can't get behind it, all right? It's my opinion. I just find it too much of a dill pickle characters in there. It's too dry, too woody. It smells like pencil shavings mixed with pickle juice, which I just can't get behind. Fantastic longevity though. More of a bright daytime fragrance. My recommendation as an alternative, if you want a dry, woody scent that's versatile, go for something called Virtus Monarch, which is a clone of Christian Clive's X for Men, or go for a more affordable Comme des Garçons Floriental, which is a sexy sandalwood scent with incense and plum. Maison Francis Kurkdjan's Gentle Fluidity Silver. This is quite highly liked by the community because it's a long-lasting, bright daytime scent. It's very heavy on ambroxan. It's like soapy, clean, metallic ambroxan that lasts over 12 hours. I don't like it because the ambroxan smells a little bit clumsy. I feel like depending on how it reacts on your skin, you may love it or not love it. I'm not a fan. I actually think that Masculine Plurial should get more of the hype in that brand over Gentle Fluidity Silver. If you want a bright, metallic, clean daily signature, Masculine Plurial is my recommendation. Eccentric Molecule 01. It is cool what this fragrance did for the community and introduced us to single molecule perfumes and let us learn more about Ice Super, which is a very magical and versatile scent to have in most formulations. However, Molecule 01 I have two problems with. First of all, it's very expensive for essentially just owning Ice Super. The brand says they have a slightly different variation of Ice Super, but it smells very similar to just buying unbranded stuff that you can get on eBay for a much cheaper price. And second of all is that it doesn't increase longevity as other molecule-based perfumes because the Ice Super note is actually very prevalent already in most modern perfumery. So adding more to it, a lot of the times will make a huge difference. In my experience, you get 30 minutes to an hour of increased longevity when you spray Molecule 01 first on your skin and then spray a fragrance you want to increase the longevity of after that. So Molecule 01, is cool for smelling just pure ISOE Super on its own or for increasing longevity. However, I actually recommend Molecule 02 over Molecule 01. That's the pure ambroxan offering of the brand. Ambroxan is not as prevalent as ISOE Super, so I find it increases longevity of fragrances better than Molecule 01. It increases them by around 2 hours in my experience. It still makes a minimal difference to the scent profile that you're trying to boost the performance of. And on its own, ambroxan is actually very sexy. I think there are variations of ambroxan you can get in perfumery, but the one I use in Molecule 02 for me, I really like. It doesn't smell overly synthetic like ambroxan sometimes can. It smells warm, musky, sexy. It's replicating ambergris. That is the original purpose of ambroxan, so it does a good job of doing that. Dior Sauvage Elixir. Great flanker. It was not a bad release at all. When I say these fragrances get too much hype, by the way, in these lists, guys, I don't mean that they're bad necessarily, but I think they just get a bit too much love. I think Elixir is nice, it's creative. It was like a more Christmassy, intense, spicy version of Sauvage, extremely potent stuff, which is really great, but I think some fragrances actually can be too strong in general. And I think Elixir has this problem. It is way too headache inducing. Literally 2 sprays in the dead of winter, I just could not handle this fragrance. So for me, I actually had to give this away just because I found it a bit too annoying, honestly. It has the best period of it in the first few hours of the fragrance, but again, the ambroxan is still there and it can be annoying, which is part of the problem of Sauvage in general. If I had to choose one flanker from Sauvage in the entire line, one concentration to choose, I would honestly go for the Eau de Parfum. At this point in time, I think that's actually my favorite version because it is not too synthetic, it is still well balanced, has some warmth to it as well, and can be used as a fresh daily signature. So I'd recommend the Eau de Parfum. Or if you want to go outside the Sauvage line, instead of getting Sauvage Elixir, go for something that's less headache inducing like Oud for Greatness or Parfum de Marly's Hautaine. Jean-Paul Gaultier's Ultra Male sort of has a similar issue to Versace Eros. It smells a bit too simplistic and a little bit outdated now actually. I think it was a bit more sexy when the whole bubblegum genre was a bit more new and innovative in the fragrance industry. So this was maybe like, let's say 6 years ago, was a bit more exciting. I think it smells a little bit outdated, it's a little bit simplistic, it's more complex than Eros, but it's a very limited fragrance due to the fact that it's very linear, it's just very sweet pear bubblegum-like in its scent profile. Honestly, if you want a unique, loud head turner, this doesn't smell anything alike, but go for Moschino's Toy Boy. I think it's more creative, more versatile, and it has better performance than Ultra Male, which is impressive because Toy Boy is a lot more fresh than Ultra Male is. Ultra Male also has a similar problem of just being so synthetic, it can be a little bit headache inducing. So you're literally just getting pure sweetness, you're not getting much else from buying that fragrance. Azzaro's Wanted by Night. Again, I didn't find this fragrance particularly sexy. I gave it away very soon after acquiring it. It's like tobacco and cinnamon mixed with the traditional bubblegum DNA you saw in mainstream perfumery. I don't know, a lot of guys liked it, but I just couldn't see the hype behind it. I'd rather go for something like Jazz Club if you want like a sexy evening time scent. Wanted by Night, I guess, was good for younger guys. I guess for teenagers it's nice, but yeah, I'd recommend Jazz Club by Maison Margiela instead. Bentley For Men Intense. I do love to hate on this fragrance a lot. I said to you guys before, I blind bought this fragrance, I didn't like how it was very dry, very woody. It wasn't as boozy as expected, and I found it a little bit more mature than I expected as well. I think if you want like a really high quality, cheap fragrance that's very long lasting, which are the features that people praise Bentley For Men Intense for. If you're like me, didn't like Bentley For Men Intense, go for something like Encre Noir à l'Extrême instead. I think that fits the criteria a lot more. They smell nothing alike, as I said before, they smell nothing alike, but that's the fragrance I would recommend instead to get an incredible value for money. Versace Dylan Blue. My bottle doesn't perform particularly great. I get maybe 6 hours on my skin, and I feel like it's a very juvenile, not particularly sexy blue DNA. I feel like it'll still get you compliments. It's still a safe fragrance for sure, but I feel that you might as well just save up a little bit more and get Bleu de Chanel. Honestly, I do not like Dylan Blue. Even if you want an affordable blue fragrance, I'd go for Ferragamo's Acqua Essenziale Blue instead. I've always hated on Versace Dylan Blue, and I think I always will. And I think even now, more so now, it smells a little bit more outdated as well. Bleu de Chanel has not become more outdated. It's still standing the test of time, whilst Dylan Blue, I cannot say the same for. And that's the video, guys. I hope it wasn't too negative today. I'm sorry if any of your favorites were on here. I'd love to have a little debate about these fragrances in the comments down below. If you disagree with any of my opinions, let me know. Or do you think I'm just being unfair in my commentary in general? Let me know in the comments down below, guys. Honestly, let's have a discussion. This doesn't have to be a hateful video, but hopefully my alternatives really were still quite productive. There wasn't just me hating on fragrances. There are some good alternatives here, guys. Trust me, especially Aaron Terence Hughes Hard Candy. For real, guys, you need to check out that fragrance. It is incredible. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out our other videos that are similar to this topic, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye now.